Order. Roll call, please. Mr. Albro.
Present.
Ms. Braun. Present. Ms. Kaminsky.
Present.
Ms. McSweeney.
Here.
Ms. O'Grady.
Here.
Ms. Ryan.
Here.
Mr. Steele.
Here.
Vice President Gomez.
Here.
President Andrews.
Here.
All rise for the flag salute. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In accordance with the provisions of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law, the New Milford Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted in the New Milford Borough Hall and the New Milford Public Library. Notices have been sent to the Record and the Twin Borough News. The board announces that under its long-standing policy, it will not discuss in public any comments made by members of the public concerning individual staff members. At this time, please be advised that all cell phones and electronic devices should be turned off. Meetings of the board are open to the public, and all members of the community should feel free to participate. Before coming to the board, the chain of command should be followed. There are two portions of the meeting reserved for comments from the public. The first at the beginning of the meeting for the agenda items only, and the second at the end of the meeting for other items. Issues raised by the public may or may not be responded to by the board, but all comments will be considered. The board requests that all members of the public be mindful of the rights of other individuals when speaking. Due to the confidentiality and legal rights afforded by the state of New Jersey, members of the public are asked to not speak negatively or in a derogatory manner about any employee of the board or any student. I seek a motion to approve the minutes for the September 21 regular and the October 5 work session. Motion by Joseph Steele, seconded by Nicole Dunn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Oh, questions?
I don't think I was here on the 21st. I can't remember.
No,
you were not.
Yeah, I was not here on the 21st. So I have to recuse myself from that.
Thank you, Judy. We will now open to the public for items on the agenda. As outlined in New Milford Board of Education Bylaw 0167, each statement made by the participants shall be limited to 2 minutes. Can I get a motion, please? Motion by Laura O'Grady, seconded by Anthony Albro. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Do we have any questions or comments from the public? For items on the agenda, please state your name and address for the record.
Sure thing. Barbara Hutchinson, 556 Windsor Road. I have a question regarding BA 15, the road forward. I do indicate I looked that up online. I appreciate it, especially whoever did it and highlighted all the changes, and it's greatly appreciated. It made it much easier as a parent to see what the changes are. My question is regarding outdoor masking. It's my understanding that both elementary schools put out and indicated that masks will be required outdoors for all parents on school property. However, in the road forward, if you look at this document that's updated, it indicates nothing about outdoor settings, including the governor's order, section 251, also is fairly specific with outdoor masking, that it's not required, it is only recommended for unvaccinated individuals in a crowded setting. So I wanted to know, is this now a policy? And if so, how come it wasn't included in the road forward? Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments for the public? From the public? I seek a motion to adjourn to the public. Motion by Nicole Dunn, seconded by Paige Ryan. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Now we have our student board representative report, Mackenzie Forte. Good evening, Mackenzie.
Hello. So, hi everybody. I'm very excited to talk about the events of this past week and the ones coming up for our upcoming school year. So last week was our Spirit Week and our Homecoming Dance, and both of these were a smashing success. In the last meeting, I discussed our Spirit Days. And I'm happy to say there was lots of participation. So our first day was Mix Up Monday, and this was super cool to see all my friends dressed up like teachers. I saw some as Miss Smith and Mr. Kelly, and I personally dressed like Mr. Torpy, so I wore a beard, so that was funny. And it was also a great day to get the teachers involved because they could dress like students. And then Decades Day was super fun and interesting. And Pajama Day is another fan favorite because it's super comfy. And Thursday was Celebrity Day, and also lots of fun. And I saw great outfits. I saw Pitbull, Ed Sheeran, Queen Elizabeth, and Adam Sandler. And on Friday was our color day, so everybody's grades dressed as their color, whether that be green, white, black, or gray. And this day was also the day where we had the games and dances and events happening in an assembly on the field. So this was a lot of fun too, and a lot of students got involved, I saw on Friday, and kind of supporting and hyping up each other's grade. And at the end of the week, after all of the games and dances and spirit days, our juniors came out on top, so great congratulations to them. And we can't talk about Spirit Week without talking about our penny worth. So this year we implemented a challenge for each grade to collect pennies in jugs, and the winner was the grade with the most amount of points at the end of the week. But the tricky part was every penny was a positive point, but every silver coin or dollar bill was a negative point. So the juniors and seniors actually collected the most pennies, and there was thousands of pennies collected. But they spent a lot of time sabotaging each other, so the sophomores actually came on top. And in total, we raised $888, and all the proceeds went to the American Cancer Society, so that was very successful. And if you want to see pictures from the whole week can be found on our Student Council Instagram page, which is at nmhs.studentcouncil. And this week ended with an amazing homecoming dance on Friday night. And while I talk about the homecoming dance, there's a slideshow up here with pictures and videos from the dance, and some might have audio, so I don't know if they're played after or while I'm talking, but we had a great setup, and our homecoming king and queen were David and Jamie. And those are some selfies and pictures. We have some videos there. I don't know if they'll load, but we have the cha-cha slide happening.
Do you want me to prep play it?
Oh, sure.
Can you shut the lights a little bit more? No.
I'm not sure if audio can be heard, but it was definitely a lot of fun and lots of smiles happening. And so yeah, the dance was super fun. As I said, everybody had an absolute blast. And on Friday during the school day to set up for the dance, we had Mr. Deborah, Ms. Simonovich, and our student council officers who took the day to decorate the courtyard. So we decked it out with lights and lanterns and flowers and a bunch of beautiful pieces to transform it into a real fairy tale. And we set up tables with food and drinks for all the students to enjoy during the dance. And every single person in our student council, from all our teachers and our members, worked so hard on Friday. And I definitely think it paid off because the dance went perfectly. And everybody had lots of fun, as we could see on the videos and pictures. And now that our Spirit Week and dance have come to an end, our school store managers are working on reinventing the school store. So they're getting ready to change up the space and sell snacks and more items for the student body. And also, with our Spirit Week and dance just being so successful, we're in the early planning stages of holding another dance, like a spring fling. So our spring fling would center around another Spirit Week with a bunch of new unique days and a field day on Friday instead of the competitions, and a spring fling dance either Friday or Saturday night. And there's not any dates planned yet because this is in its early stages, but it's similar to how this week went. And the homecoming was really successful in bringing the school together, both the student body and just everybody in the whole school. And I think everybody had an amazing time. I got lots of messages from people saying how much fun they had and how much life it brought to the school. So it was a great success, and we're looking forward to making this school year just as fun.
Thank you, Mackenzie.
Thank you very
Yes.
I have some printouts here of the pictures that Mackenzie had. It's difficult to see them on the screen, so I'm going to start with Tanya, and then we'll pass them around so everybody can see. The courtyard looked absolutely beautiful.
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
I did see on Instagram every day your Spirit Week, and I thought it was great, the participation with the teachers and the students, and I thought the decorations were beautiful. So nice job.
Thank you.
Mackenzie, and that was an excellent presentation. Thank you very much. Thank you for showing us this. It's nice to see the students having a good time and enjoying getting that.
And we have learned in the pandemic, or through the pandemic, that we have to be flexible. And so a few days, we decided we had to change the date because of the weather, and that just worked out beautifully because you had the most gorgeous evening.
Yeah.
And the night after would have been a real bust.
Yeah.
So that was a good call. We didn't,
It was.
it might have ruffled some feathers with some people, but we've got to learn to be flexible, right? So it all worked out. So thank you. And as always, you can stay if you'd like to stay. And if you have homework or things you need to do, you can sneak out at any time.
But before you go, does anyone else have any questions or comments for Mackenzie? Okay.
How do you sabotage the food?
Yeah, so right by the main office, each grade had like a giant jug or just a giant water bottle, and it was labeled seniors, juniors, sophomores, and freshmen. So for your own grade, you want to put in pennies, but for other grades, you want to put in silver coins or dollar bills. And if you get enough of those, they're going to have negative points, and pennies can't really make up for it.
So the more money you have, the worse it is.
Yeah.
Right. And more silver. Yeah. Great.
I do want to say too, just because for those that know and don't, ever, I live right across from the high school. And I don't know, we went to get something to dinner or whatever, and came home, and it was towards the end of the night, and you could hear the sounds from the school. So we sat outside front, and we could hear you all. And singing, it was so awesome, and it was just really nice. And I think by the pictures, it looked like there were a lot of kids there. So I just want to thank you and the student council, as well as your advisors and all of the adults that helped you pull this off. Because it seemed like it was a great time, and it seemed like everybody was really happy when they were there, so great job.
Thank you.
All right, are there any other questions or comments for Mackenzie? Mackenzie, thank you very much. And as Ms. Shanley just said, you are welcome to stay. Or we know you're a student, you have lots of things to do and study, so you're welcome to leave as well.
Okay.
All right. We now have a couple more presentations. Our first presentation is by Dr. Chris Mollis. Are you going first? Constructivism as a paradigm for teaching and learning.
Okay, it's up to you. You can do it. Thank you. So, good evening, everyone. It's so nice to be here with you. Danielle asked me if I would speak to the board a little bit about how my new role is going and to give you a little overview about constructivism. And of course, it's my pleasure to be here today. So I did put it together as a PowerPoint just to give you a visual, but I'm not going to read over the slides. Just kind of talk to what I'd love to do. So, Lauren? Okay, so the philosophy is really rooted in best practices in education. John Piaget's theory, that people, humans, make meaning in relation to their experiences. Learning is very personal to every person. And so it recognizes that learners construct new meanings by building upon what they know. And this philosophy, leads us to constructive development theory very beautifully, because constructive development theory focuses on adults and children as well. We're looking at it in the district through the lens of adult development theory, and considers both people's interpersonal and internal experiences and how they intersect, particularly today when we live in such a complex place, for lack of a better term. There is so much research supporting the need to support individuals so that learning can continue to happen. And the way you create an optimal learning environment is you have appropriate supports with appropriate challenges. That's the work that we are all building upon this year, and it is going really, really beautifully. This is all work that Milford has already been doing for many years, really without having a name put on it. But we have our now we're building the framework so that everyone has a reference and that there's a more comprehensive understanding of how we approach, how we plan to support the adults so they can better support our students. Warren? So people construct and actively make sense of the reality in which they live. We know that. And people can change and develop over time. And as I mentioned, with supports and challenges. That's the beauty of the theory. We don't stop learning when we leave high school or we leave college. We are human beings and we learn every day through our experiences. Next.
I think there's a delay on the keyboard, or did the keyboard die? There we go.
Okay. So key ideas. Learning is an active process. Learners need to be actively involved in the learning. That's why there's been such a push for this cooperative and collaborative learning. And the high school, I'm here now. I am missing the little ones every day, but I am loving the energy at the high school. The kids are so happy. The kids are so pleasant. They really are a joy to be around. And I watch the classes and I watch the teachers collaborating with one another, interdisciplinary. There are a lot of efforts. The team leaders are working with Lauren, I know, to build learning experiences across disciplines, and we know that that's really what makes for the best kind of learning. We like to remind everyone that the responsibility of the learner should always lie with the learner. And how do we get the most for our students and for each other? Teachers have to be masterful in their approach to empower learners so they can do their best learning. Lauren? So, all of this ties beautifully with what we believe and we know is research-based. We know that caring for adults' internal development is one of the most powerful drivers of educational change. When adults in schools have personal and organizational support, they bring their best selves to their work every day. This has important implications for cultivating school communities that are growth enhancing, and it has also been linked to improve student achievement and outcomes. Excuse me, it's the mask. This is research-based, but it really ties to what we believe. We believe that if we can support our teachers, they can better support our students, we can all continue to grow, and we can come to our buildings every day and be a place where we can be better individuals. And that's the beauty of the philosophy. Lauren?
I'm clicking on, I promise.
Nope.
Okay.
Go back.
So the strategies we've been using.
I skipped two?
Mhm.
Did you?
Yes.
Okay, so the implications for our practice is that the better we understand an adult's way of knowing, the better we can help them grow. So we know our teachers are just like our children. They lie along a continuum. And that doesn't mean that anyone is pegged in any one place, because everyone travels along that continuum all the time. But as leaders, we know that if we can identify a need and we can offer the appropriate support, we can help our teachers continue to grow and become even better than they already are. So we attend to their different preferences, their needs, and their developmental orientations. And that may be something that seems intuitive, but every teacher, every wonderful teacher in this district does that every day in every classroom with all her children. And it's our hope to build a leadership team that can do that for our teachers the same way they do it with our children. We have many strategies. We're supporting their professional growth by teaching them about this. We're creating opportunities for them to rethink and reimagine what they might want to do and what they may be feeling they need. We'll shape the processes for how we're implementing learning. We'll lead the design of a district-wide framework to kind of envelop all the beautiful work that has been going on here for many, many years. And we'll ensure that we do this for considering our students' achievement, growth, and support along every inch of the way. So together, we're going to do this adaptive work, and we've begun through mentoring, observation, data analysis, actionable feedback, training, and monitoring. This role is equal parts strategy and vision. We're off to a strong start by empowering the staff. We've already held workshops introducing the theories and the philosophy to our new administrators, to the entire leadership team, to the new teachers, to the liaison, and soon we'll be sharing it with a new cohort of our teacher leaders. And so, promising observations, just to give you a little feedback. Our principals, Jess Torrey, Tim Coughlin, and our assistant principal at the elementary schools are sharing best practices across the schools for the teachers to have a better chance to collaborate, learn from one another, and support one another's growth. Mr. Dalala and his new assistant principal, Nicolette Perna, conducted a Constructivist Workshop the very first week of school. He introduced the staff to it and have them actually engage in a constructivist approach PD opportunity that was absolutely beautiful. Lumen Pelly and Jerry Perron have been working closely with the high school liaisons to further their understanding so that we can build collaboratively with the liaisons, the support that the teachers are asking for, and feedback or observations in all 4 schools are focusing on helping teachers develop their capacity to teach through this lens. So, all right. Looking ahead, we remain committed, reflected, excited, enthusiastic, and absolutely confident that this is what's best for us here in New Milford. And happy Halloween. That's my favorite. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much. That was excellent. I think a few of us on the board, were asking for a better understanding, as well as probably some of the people in the public at home and here. So thank you. I have one question I'm curious about. Everything sounds wonderful. What are you using for measurement to either know that your program, if we'll call it, is successful, or for reflection and adjusting?
Well, in the workshops, we do a lot of self-assessments. So for example, we'll take a mindset quiz, we'll take some feedback orientation skills, and we'll ask the teachers to reflect on their own. They don't have to share, it's not a number, it's not a score, but it provides them an opportunity to reflect on their areas of growth. And then when we revisit in our following workshops, we ask them to leave there with a goal in mind that they actually journal about and that they're going to work toward. And then when we come back, it's early in the year, but that's how we're going to measure their progress. And it's all, the beauty of it is it's their own personal goals. It's things they want to work on, things they feel like they can get support from their friends. And as we continue to go, we have other instruments we'll use, like the feedback environment, and we'll learn about what teachers feel they can best benefit from their feedback on those scales. And also we'll take a learning climate scale for not just their own learning, but the learning of the students too. So we do have 4 good instruments that we will be using throughout the year, and then their goals.
Excellent, thank you.
You're welcome.
So it's very student-driven,
Absolutely student-oriented,
There we
because we
go.
believe that the very best work that teachers do ultimately will improve student achievement.
And their students
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments? Laura first, Joe second.
This is happening during professional development time, is that when it's happening for the teachers?
Yeah.
Earlier, okay.
Well, so far we've had academies with new teacher orientation. We did 2 sessions, Lauren and I, with them. The first was before the year began and during their regular time, and then we met with them just last week as a check-in, our first check-in with the new teachers, and that went really well. I meet regularly with the principals, and I'm happy to say that many of the teachers have reached out to me, coming to me. That's my new office in the back there, and they'll just pop in. I have lots of resources that I'm happy to share. I'm working closely with Shayna, and it's just overall a really nice feeling to be connected to everyone, and to be in a place where you see that all these beautiful children are the products of the district. So I have the best job.
You do,
And
definitely
Danielle
do.
tells me everything.
I tell her all the time.
If I can also just add something to that, I think you might have been specifically referring to the professional development days, the abbreviated day for students. And Dr. Chris Mullis's work extends well beyond that, and it's really sprinkled throughout the regular schedule. So you'll see meetings embedded during regular school days. We met with the teachers after school. Some of those meetings are taking place at 3 o'clock. And then if it is during the day, it's the same that we would do if we have a math or literacy consultant coming in, where we're providing coverage for the teachers so that they can work alongside of
Oh, okay, great.
Dr.
That's
Chris
even
Mullis.
more, I was wondering if it was just on the PD
Limited.
days,
No,
but then
no.
it's so spread out, right? Okay,
Mhm.
all right, great.
Thank you.
Joe, you had a question?
Yeah, is there anything that measures continuity? Let's say Johnny's in 5th grade, he's going to the middle school. Does JR get any paperwork or something on a computer, tells him what time a child is coming in? They could be a leader, they could be a follower, contributor, just sit there and do, is there any Or do they have to
I
start
think
from
maybe Laura would
scratch?
like to talk about the Lincoln, how we're housing the children's information and it travels with them, if that's what you mean, they're
Yeah.
academic. But I think that that's work that the principals, and I can say this as a former principal, that we take very seriously and we do really well. When we send children off to the middle school, they come with their background, all the good things we know about them, all the supports we think they need, and these are conversations that the principals have at length every spring to help support the needs of the children. That helps with placement, which takes all summer to do, to get the teachers, just the right teachers for each child. And I think really that New Milford does it beautifully.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And I just want to add to that one. So another one of our district goals is communication and increasing articulation across buildings. So in addition to the benchmarking and those assessments that we're administering across grade levels, we've also embedded times for grade levels, departments, and data teams to meet. And it's also includes vertical articulation, so 5th grade teachers with 6th grade teachers and 8th grade with 9th grade, so that we're making those transitions a little bit more seamless and providing the data so that the teachers are ready to hit the ground running when they get the students.
Thank you.
I do have a quick question. First, just a comment. Thank you very much for all of that information. It's great. Tanya did ask my question about the success criteria. So for one thing you mentioned, and I know it started out with started out with the leader cadres, right? The smaller groups. And now you're expanding and definitely new teachers, right? New teacher orientation, checking in with them, seeing how they're doing, and then having regular meetings with principals. And you had the building level exercises that those principals did. So you mentioned something, and I probably wrote it down wrong, but feedback, you said feedback, and I wrote environment, I don't think that's it. What are the tools?
Orientation.
Is that it? Feedback?
Yes.
orientation.
Okay, that's it. So is that something that has already been done, and now you'll follow up?
Yeah, so in the workshops that we've already conducted with the administrators, with the new teachers, we introduce them to the concept of someone's feedback orientation. So we know that principals and administrators and teachers spend an awful lot of time preparing for observations, having observations, and then getting the feedback. So this lens will help you explore how efficiently you receive feedback and gives someone an opportunity to reflect on where their challenges are around their feedback orientation. And I always like to use the example, some children that you coach always want to be coached. And they come over to you and they tell me what I did. I just swung. Tell me how to do it. Tell me how to fix it. And then there are other kids will say, no, I'll figure it out. Right? People are all like, you have a feedback orientation. Understanding it and understanding that it can change and develop over time is a powerful tool that we're hoping will just become another tool in their toolbox to help them be more masterful. So when they receive feedback, they get it from their friends, their colleagues, their administrator. They're more apt to use it, try it, experiment with it, and then see if it works for them. So that's one of the tools.
Could I speak
Sure.
to something? So as a member of the administrative team, the leadership team, because it's more than just administrators, leadership team with Carrie as a facilitator, I participate alongside them, right? So, and we've had conversations about feedback. Who are we willing to accept feedback from? Are we always ready to hear feedback? And we've had conversations where we now, and we joke a little bit about it, but we'll say to each other, let me know when you're ready to hear feedback. Because sometimes I'm so invested in what I just tried to do that I'm not ready to hear feedback right now, right? And I'm feeling vulnerable, right now. Or I know it didn't go well, and I'm down on myself right now, so I'll let you know when I'm ready for feedback. Or please tell me, because now I'm ready. So there's, what some of this work does is really helps us, and that's why the reflection is so important. And we don't always share our reflections, but we're welcome to share. Because you really have to think about where you are in this moment. Am I ready to learn? Am I ready to grow? Am I aware? You know, and I think that's the piece. It's this caring for adults in a way that adults need to be cared for so that they can grow. And creating communities of trust, smaller groups of people and communities of trust. Like Carrie has a group of new administrators. We have quite a few newer administrators. we don't attend that group because they need their community of trust. Carrie doesn't evaluate them. So it's a safe place for them to be vulnerable with her so that they could grow. For example, and within our administrator, our leadership team, we're working on, it doesn't happen overnight, we're working on developing community trust, and with the liaisons, working within their departments in a way that is just beyond supporting people in the everyday world of, running a content area department or a grade level, but supporting them as learners. See, we forget very often that the students are the learners, but we are still learning. If we're doing our jobs right, we're still learning. So it's really been, it's very rich work. It's hard work. Requires you to be a little bit vulnerable and to sort of be willing to really take a close look at yourself sometimes. And that's not always easy for everyone. And I think that teacher leader cadre that we started maybe 4 years ago was just so powerful to not find a way to make it more pervasive really would be a disservice. It would be like malpractice, that that works so well and you're not doing it other places. So.
And I think that everything that Danielle is speaking to is one of the pillars of the philosophy, where we talk about creating a holding environment for adults, which really was a phrase coined by Robert Keegan, who began this development theory, and he took it away from the way a baby is held. Like when a baby is held well, the breathing is easier, there's a calmness to the baby, you can feel it. And so by creating these holding environments where there's trust and where people have a sacred space where they can come and they can vent, they can share, is really powerful for how people, and I will tell you, the one thing I'd like to think, and Stephanie recently attended one of the smaller workshops with me, is I think people leave feeling good, right? We laugh, we kid, we get to a space where we can share secrets. Like she called me out on not being an athlete, I'll never forget her. But we get to a place where we model what it means to really take a risk, because that's where we know our learning is going to happen. So if I'm willing to say to them, I don't really know how to do that well, can you help me? That's powerful for me and for everybody. And we even had a fun exercise and Danielle was such a good sport about it. And at the end of the activity, someone won a framed picture of Danielle from their office.
So bad.
But it was wonderful. But it was purposeful, right? It was an opportunity to show that our leader was willing to be vulnerable. And in this space with all of us, so that we could build that community of trust that will help us move forward as educators and help our children really soar to the highest possible sights.
Can I share a piece of this? I think it's so important for you to understand that I was included in some of this, and I think that just speaks volumes to what kind of community and the type of work that's happening, because so much of it is framed around the education of children. And so a lot of times the business administrator and technology and these other supports that are behind the scenes aren't so much included. But I think there's so much value in that, because, every time, say, a building level administrator comes and they're like, well, we need this, and I'm like, well, it's not in the budget and you don't need it now. But there's now becoming this understanding that as things develop and while I'm always they think that I'm always saying no, and I think they're always asking no, we can see each other's side as to how it really works. So I think that too is it's not just, it's really an inclusive environment for everybody, as at least in part of the administrative team that I got to see.
So, yeah, and thank you, because I think when it was presented to us, to move in this direction specifically, not that we're not already doing it in the district, in the classrooms and focusing, but really moving in this direction was a cultural shift, right? To change to improve the culture of learning as a whole, starting with our administrators and teachers, right? Because if they're feeling this way and they understand it. So that would be something that, as a board member, looking forward to, as we go at the end of this year, how did this work? How did the teachers feel about their inclusion? Because before it was much smaller groups. How did they feel about that? How did the staff, right? How did other staff members feel about their inclusion? Is there opportunity to do more for them, you know, or different or whatever? So that would be what I would be interested in finding out, just in that frame of mind, because I'm definitely.
And Danielle's very strategic about that. She has
Yes.
goals for me.
Well,
And I'm working to.
you know, I mean, we're all big picture
Absolutely.
thinkers,
Yeah.
and so I'm always thinking about like down the line and down the line, I wanna see this down the line, and one of the things that we did talk about was the student leadership, starting with the student leadership maybe at the high school,
Yep.
and what that might look like after we, you know, work with the adults, so that the adults understand, because you have to do it strategically, and then take it to a point where you have student leaders, and you're working with them on understanding learning theory, and understanding leadership, and understanding what that means, and what does it mean to be vulnerable and brave among your peers. And these are just incredible lifelong skills and reflections that, you know, a lot of adults have never engaged in or really thought about. It's a dog-eat-dog world out there, and we're not thinking about soft stuff, but really it's the soft stuff that moves us. So, I mean, I would love, that's really where I want to see it go, because now we're working with the adults who are going to work with the children, but the students really could benefit from this too,
Yeah,
as we move
absolutely.
forward.
And a leader doesn't have to be what you think of as a typical leader.
Oh, no.
It's within what you're capable of bringing to whatever
Absolutely.
you choose to
Right.
do.
Mhm.
So I
And
think
that
it's
kind
very
of
important.
distribution of leadership, we all have
Right.
different strengths, and collectively, we're all so much better.
Correct.
And that's the beauty of the work, so.
So I thank you for
Thank
doing
you.
all of that. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So at our last meeting, Mrs. McSweeney asked some important questions about special education and about budget in particular related to special education. And although I could try to answer all of those questions myself, or I could try to get the answers and present them to you, I didn't think I would be able to do it justice. So Dr. Bennett-Perot is here to, and she was watching, so she knows what your questions were. And she's going to make sure that she addresses them tonight and to all of you.
Thank you, everyone. Good evening. I wanted to keep it simple this evening, and I do appreciate, you know, what you have brought forward there. So, next one, please. Very brief. Oh, this is a lot bigger on my screen. So, just to keep it very simple, coming into us from our receiving districts, we're bringing in approximately $1,163,370.
What, say that
So
again?
1 million.
1 million?
I'm sorry, $1,163,370. And I attribute that to our tremendous teachers, instructional assistants, and case managers, because they're the ones that are making the magic in those programs every single day. And, you know, districts like Dumont and Oradell and surrounding, you know, value our programs and know that their students, when they're here, are going to get the very best. So, again, that's everyone who's in the trenches every day of why we're able to bring in over $1 million. Students that we send out, we are 1,736,503. That does include our students attending vocational programs and paramus. Now, when I first saw that number, I kind of startled a little bit, because like you, I see them in piecemeal. I sign off my contract, I know what they are, and so I was a bit shocked by that number. But then I said, okay, but let's look at the programs that we're sending our students to. And when we look at that, we have 17 students going out of district. I have over 400 students that have IEPs, and 17 are going out of district. 10 of our students are going to a behavioral type of program. So you might be saying, well, Dr. Perot, why don't we start a behavioral type of program here? The best behavioral programs that I have seen are a very low ratio of students. 5 students would be the maximum that you would have in a behavioral type of class. You would have a teacher, you would have 1 or 2 instructional assistants, you would have a behaviorist, dedicated just to that program. We do have a behaviorist in district, but he's among all of our IBC classes. You would also have a therapist. Many of these programs have a nurse that works with the families to help manage medication. So although, and for us here too, we don't have a lot of space left for our programs. So it's not as easy to say, well, let's just open a behavioral program, because it is a very intensive type of program. And even with 10 students, you would probably looking at easily 3 to 4 classrooms. So the programs that our students are in are excellent. Prior to COVID, and once things calm down, I always go out and I observe our students, because I never wanted, when I took on this role many years ago, to just have an IEP with no face. So I go and visit all of our programs. Our students are doing well there. They are in excellent programs, and I'm very pleased with what they're doing. We have 6 students in different multiply disabled programs. Those programs, by the nature of the students' needs, are also very, very intense. These are students that need hours of therapies during the day, and there's mobility challenges. So again, they are appropriately placed and are doing well in their settings. And we do have a student that is in the hearing impaired program over in Midland Park. So although that number does look high, and again, I kind of jolted when I saw it, the intense nature of the needs of the students, we just couldn't meet them here in district. We tried, but because of the intensity or the ongoing therapies that a child might need, they are placed out of district there. Lauren, would you mind? Or I'm sorry. So then I looked at, well, what would happen if we didn't have our IBC program? And I'm very proud of our IBC program. As you know, or maybe you don't, it's now extended up to the high school. We have a student that has gone through IBC who's now at Wings. We have 47 students between our pre-K all the way up to the high school in IBC. If we didn't have that program here in district, and I figured low, I figured on tuition of about $75,000. It could be much more than that. That's not including transportation or an ESY program. If we needed to send those 47 students out, it would cost us $3,450,000. And again, the strength of our IBC program is our staff, our instructional assistants, our therapists, everybody who works so hard each and every day. I then looked at our LLD and our MD classes. We have 59 students between kindergarten and high school being serviced in those classes. I figured average tuition would be about $50,000 if we needed to send the students out. That would cost the district $2,950,000. So you can see the benefit of having such strong programs here to work with our students. A few years ago, when we were opening Wings. Wings, I believe, is about 4 years old now, 5 years old. And I was looking at it from the lens of the students are part of the community. This is where they're going to live. This is where they need to learn how to access transportation and shopping and banking. And you all have great questions. Well, what does this do financially? What is that going to look like? And the students have the benefit of being here and part of the community. Currently, we have 5 students in Wings. If we would send them to another program, again, I figured add approximately $50,000. That might even be low. We have a savings of $250,000. And remember, Wings is usually a 3-year program. Bergen County requires a 3-year commitment, so $250,000 times 3, it would have been $750,000 at the end of a 3-year journey with the students. So I hope that kind of does align with what you were looking for a little bit, because sometimes, especially with special education, it's not always black and white. And we try so hard, as you can see on the bottom there, to always consider the least restrictive environment. those of you that know me for any length of time, you know my motto is life is not self-contained. There's no self-contained ShopRite that our students are going to go to, no self-contained bank. Our students and clients need to learn how to function within the community. The community needs to learn how to function with our students, and we can only do that when we keep students with their age-appropriate peers and within the community. So, again, I just was hoping for a brief overview and hopefully, you know, kind of aligned with what you were looking for. If there's any questions, yes.
I have two questions. The first question is the incoming tuition. Approximately how many students are,
That's a great question. I think it's about 18 or 19.
okay.
With that
So
there.
those are students based on the school district doing their research, have decided to send their students to New Milford rather
Mhm.
than to outside sources.
Right.
Maybe for the public, because I've been on the board for so long, if you could just give a little history of IBC, when it started. Joe and I were on the board when it started. I think Danielle, you were as well. An administrator, Paige. Lauren, maybe? There were a few of us that were already on the board, but if you could just, for those who haven't been on the board, just give a little background on
Sure.
how we started this and why we started this.
Okay, great. So IBC stands for Interbridge Crossing. I believe the program is about 10 years old now, 9 or 10 years old. And originally, the students that are in IBC, and they're in high school now, were in a program called Tri-Valley. So it was an arrangement that we had with Bergenfield and Dumont and New Milford. And we weren't really happy with the services that were there. And we said to ourselves, well, we can do this and we can do it better. So our first IBC class started in the pre-K and then moved up, you know, as the students got older. So originally they were at Berkeley. Space became a bit of a challenge, so the students moved over to Gibbs, which actually works out well because of inclusion type of activities. They have some more options at Gibbs than they did at Berkeley. And then when I was here, we opened up the wing at the middle school, and then we brought the students up to the high school there. So, you know, we looked at the program, we said we can do it, and we can do it better. And that was really how Interbridge Crossing came to be here in New Milford.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much, because it only goes to show that for those, the incoming tuition helps defray the cost of what we have to spend. But then also maintaining the student and keeping the student within the community in their own environment with other students within the New Milford, I think, is a great thing. So thank you for this information.
Dr. Perot, Stephanie, did you, it's 18.
18,
Yeah.
that's what it was?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
And
Joe?
some of the students, well, I'm sorry for
No, no,
interrupting,
go
and
ahead.
I'll get to Mr. Steele. Some of the students have been with us for many years, you know, some 7, 8 years with us there. So, you know, we've been able to, you know, foster that relationship, really work with the students. They still have a connection to their home district, but, you know, they believe, and our programs are so strong that they stay with us for that many years.
Thank you.
Joe?
A comment and a question. For the board members who weren't around, one of the things we took pride in was when we built the IBC, we did it all internally. We didn't have to go out for construction costs. We had plumbers and electricians on staff, painters, so it was all built. We saved a ton of money. So it wasn't a big cost in the beginning. It was pretty easy to move into the program, and I would say it probably paid for itself well over the 10 years or so. The second thing is a question. The governor has said that they're now allowing 1 extra year for the extended students to age 22 rather than 21. Is there funding attached to that, or do we have to absorb that?
So that's a great question, and yes, we did all, first part, your comment there, we did all of that in-house work there, thus the gray hair. But anyway, yeah, were these programs going to be open by September?
Yeah.
The extended school year, that is a team decision. Students and clients and families are not automatically eligible for an extra year. It's a team decision. And it's based on the goals. Were we able to meet some of those transitional goals? The nuances are, it does not have to be for a full year. It could be, well, we want to work on some travel training, and we feel that we can do that by November and have the student back up to speed there. There is some funding attached to it, I believe, through all of the ESSERS type of thing, and it was a 3-year. So last year, students who graduated in 21 could have extended this year. Students who are graduating in 22 can stay on 1 more year. And then students that their last year would be 22, 23 could stay on, and that's the final year for it. But again, it's not an automatic, it's a team decision, and we have to look at the goals and objectives, and did we achieve that, and what could we do to achieve that. And the nice thing is, for students that, the 22, 23, we've got that chance to kind of work on some of those gaps beforehand.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Corral. Laura?
I just wanted to confirm that second column is per year, is that correct?
Yes.
So by having those programs, it's about $6 million we're saving each year by having those programs.
Yes.
Wow. That's great, I'm so glad we did that.
Yeah.
But you go,
Yeah, we
you
do
put
have
the
others
numbers together, yeah.
Oh, we do have other special education programs, but I just kind
No,
of
that's
focused on
amazing.
that because these would be students that if we didn't have them,
Absolutely.
we would be placing them out of district.
That's amazing, that's great.
Are there any other questions or comments?
Thank you.
Great, thanks.
Thank you
very
so much
much.
for coming out. I appreciate it.
All right, now we have our superintendent of schools report, Mrs. Danielle Shanley.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. Let's see, it's like, can I blow this up large enough? I don't need reading glasses. I just want to thank Mackenzie and Doctors Chris Amalis and Bennett Farrell for speaking here tonight. I'd also like to remind the public that Election Day is Tuesday, November 2nd, so please get out and do your civic duty and vote. I would also like to remind everyone that our Domestic Violence Symposium will be held here at the high school. Actually, the panel will be here at the high school, but everybody can watch from home on Wednesday, October 27th. And if he would be so kind at the end, I would love for Mr. Seymour to talk a little bit about our incredible partnership that helped make this event possible yet again. If you haven't seen our website, I'd love for you to take a look. We have updates and images on the website. We're trying to work to keep those images fresh, and I definitely want to put some of that beautiful courtyard from the homecoming dance, some of those pictures on our website. I'd also like to let the community know, I believe she's watching from home. We have a new employee listed on the agenda this evening. It's in red. Her name is Amanda Martinez. She's a New Milford High School grad, class of 2017. And I'm recommending her to the board for a tenure track English position at the high school. I can honestly say that I do believe so. In the time I came in 2010, I think this is the first student who I knew as a student that we're hiring as a teacher. And I spoke with Amanda, and she's really just lovely and enthusiastic, and can't wait to join us in November. And I'll share that at the end. So at the elementary schools, just so that everybody knows, because there might have been some confusion, we are celebrating Halloween in all of the schools in a different way, and there will be costumes in all of the schools. Let's see. So there's a very special thank you to the Berkeley and Gibbs PTOs for hosting this upcoming Spooktacular at the elementary schools that will take place on Friday afternoon, October 29th. These are outdoor events that will take place from 7 to 9 p.m. at both BF Gibbs and Berkeley Street schools. Parents and other volunteers will be decorating the trunks of their cars. Students are invited to wear their costumes and trick or treat at the haunted trunks. Thank you to all the parents and staff volunteers for making this fun event possible for our students. Gibbs and Berkeley are both celebrating Red Ribbon Week, the week of October 25th through the 29th. You have to say that 10 times fast. Red Ribbon Week. Red Ribbon Week is an ideal way for people and communities to unite and take a visible stand against drugs. Both schools are planning events and theme days that focus around respect for self and how we can take care of our bodies and our minds. On Friday the 29th, students are invited to wear either pajamas to school or change into costumes in the afternoon. And they are, let's see, festive Halloween and autumn themed pajamas are certainly encouraged, but no pressure because you could always be a superhero. Additional fall celebrations are being planned at each grade level. Fun activities with the students, arts and crafts, projects, etc. So some of the things that are here on the high school good news, Mackenzie already shared with us, but I just wanted to remind you that more than $800 was raised for cancer research during Spirit Week last week. Mr. Riccardelli and we want to thank Mr. Riccardelli and the fall coaches for honoring our senior athletes at their respective senior night presentations. And a special thank you to the Touchdown Club, the parents, and the PTO for their help at each of these events. I'll tell you that the Touchdown Club and the parents, PTO, and the foundation, what they all do at the football games is really just incredible considering they're working without a snack shack. I mean, they had serious barbecue and all kinds of great stuff going on, and my daughter really loved the chicken fingers, so somebody's gonna have to tell me where those came from. As part of Red Ribbon Week activities at the high school, we had Miriam Gonzalez. She's a trauma prevention coordinator and clinical educator and a Safe Kids Bergen County coordinator. She presented to our students on distracted driving. And Mrs. Zacher is the person who is responsible for coordinating those efforts, so we thank her for that. We'd like to thank Ken Marino and Sopranos for their generous donations, always to New Milford High School. We are very, very fortunate to have their support. Immediate Decision Day of 2021 has been planned for November 18th. So what Immediate Decision Day is, for those who maybe have not had the experience before, is that like we will have, for example, 12 representatives from local colleges and universities who come in. Students meet with those representatives, review their transcripts with them, engage in a little interview, and students are, you always know when it's Immediate Decision Day because the high school never looks so well dressed. The students are all dressed professionally for their little interviews, and by the end of the week, we find out exactly how much merit was awarded. So it's a great day for our students to find out on the spot if they are accepted from any of these 12 colleges that they would like to meet with. It's wonderful. Jim Henderson, the Director of Financial Aid at Montclair State University, presented a financial aid program on October 7th virtually to the parents of senior and junior students. His presentation is available on the New Milford High School Guidance Department webpage. And I know that it is crunch time because I remember quite vividly that my daughter and I, when she was a senior, the entire week before Halloween, we were at that kitchen table till I don't know what time, and there were a lot of Oreos consumed. That's all I can tell you. Getting those applications prepared for November 1st. So to all of the senior families out there, my heart goes out to you. Our student athletes of the month for September are Sean Mastro Piero for football and Michelle Joe, girls tennis. Thanks to everyone who supported Brian, is it Hoyer? Am I saying that correctly? The coach, Brian Hoyer? Hewer, okay. Brian Hewer Knight. All money raised will be allocated to the scholarships in his name. More than $4,000 was raised through donations and t-shirt sales. This upcoming Friday night is Billy Wild Night. Ceremony begins at approximately 5:30. The game begins at 6 p.m. versus Lodi. So come out and celebrate one of New Milford's finest people and all-time winningest football coach. And one last thing I'd like to share with you is a letter that Michelle Harrell and I received from Mrs. Westervelt. And it says, "Good morning. Just wanted to share. Yesterday we returned from family weekend with Ryan at the University of Connecticut. Ryan first visited UConn as part of the New Milford High School Academy trip in October of 2019. Due to the pandemic, it was the only time that Ryan saw UConn in person before giving his acceptance to attend there in the spring of 2020. Ryan completed his entire freshman year virtually from 20 to 21. Ryan was finally able to start his sophomore year in person this past August, and UConn seems to be a good fit for him, and he appears to be very happy. After visiting there this past weekend, I wish I were 19 again and attending there too. Thanks for your part in all of this. Again, just wanted to share a success story with you. Have a wonderful day, Maureen Westervelt." And I did ask her if it would be okay if we shared. One of the hallmarks of the Academy program is to get students to think about their future, what they're passionate about, where they see themselves, to think big and imagine all that's possible for themselves, both academically and after high school, personally, artistically. And so we thought that it would be great to include on almost all of our excursions, anytime we went somewhere and did something, we tried to include a college campus in on those trips. And I would say to Michelle, we have to eat in the cafeteria. No matter how bad it is, we have to eat in their cafeteria. I can tell you, I have eaten in many, many college cafeterias, and some are truly just awful, and some are really good. So, but I know for certain that we have senior students at the College of New Jersey right now who chose that school because we went there on an academy trip. And I know a student who just graduated from Temple, and now she's pursuing a graduate degree at an Ivy League institution, I believe at Penn, who visited Temple on an academy trip. And I just know, and I believe in my heart, that it's experience, opportunities that we try to create for students. And I'm so excited that last year was the 10th year of the Academy program, and I'm just looking forward to it continuing. So I just wanted to share that with you, a little good news. So, okay. And that is the end of my report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very informative and good to hear. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
I have a comment.
Yes, Judy.
I was just gonna say, for those of us who have been on the board for a long period of time, for those individuals who have not been on the board a long period of time, you were also part of the inception of the STEM Academies, which you mentioned 10 years ago. So I just wanted to let all those people that Danielle was also a part of that, just for historical purposes. So thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Joe?
When you started the academies, some of the students had to give us presentations. Ryan's older brother Patrick was one of the first ones. Did a culinary arts type of presentation to us.
You know, interestingly enough, Patrick Westervelt, Sarah Almeida, and right now, the third young lady's name absolutely escapes me, and I'm embarrassed by that, were the three students who came to me and said, we game jam. I'm like, what's game jam? They're computer scientists, right? So game jamming is something that people in this gaming world do, where over a weekend, you get a theme that's launched. You're shaking your head, yes. You get a theme that's launched, and they have a weekend, 24 hours, 48 hours, to create a game based on the theme.
I remember this.
And then at the end of the weekend, they evaluate each other. Not evaluate, but they play each other's games, they give each other feedback, and you're talking to your peers that you respect who do what you do. And they said, we want to bring this here, and we want to do a maker jam, where we launch a theme, and they were the ones who brought that to us as part of being in the academies as their passion project. That was their passion project, and that was their senior capstone. And it lasted for years. And I was talking to JR, and he said, we still do Maker Days. And so we, and that's very constructivist, very much so. And your daughter was in the academies, and your daughter is going to school in college to a place we visited on the Philadelphia trip. Yep.
So Danielle, I remember I'm sorry, did you have another question, Joe?
One of the other students, Anthony DiLiberto,
Yes.
has his own business, has his own building, and I remember he was one of our early ones from the academy.
Actually,
Who
Anthony,
presented?
you know what Anthony did? Anthony was doing option 2, which was another presentation that some students did. So he was doing an option 2, which is an alternative opportunity to gain high school credit for courses or experiences we don't offer here, but that could potentially align.
Yeah.
And so Anthony did a work study, a legitimate bona fide work study, and then he presented to everyone about his work study, and he's running his own business now. So I'd love to think that
He got a scholarship
Yeah.
to
he got a
BMW.
So here's the thing with Anthony. I hope I don't think he's watching, but maybe he'll be like, I heard you were talking about me. Anthony was the kind of kid who came into my office and was like, why do I need to do this? He goes, he handed me, he was 16 years old, he didn't even have a driver's license yet. He handed me his business card. He said, this is what I do for a living. I do detailing. So he gives me his business card. And we were talking. Actually, we went to go find him because I saw an article about him in the New York Times. And I went into Michael and I said, this kid goes to school here.
He restored
We
the
have
old
to find
car.
him,
Yeah.
right? So we went to go find him. So anyway, he came to me and he goes, look, Miss Shanley. And he's like 6'4".
Yeah.
He goes,
Yeah.
I'm not going to college. This is what I want to do. If I'm in this building all day, I'm going to go crazy. He goes, and when I'm bored, I'm not really that good. I said, all right, so what do we need to do? He's like, well, I have a chance to work here, work there. Could I get a work study? It was the first one we had done like this. And I said, okay. He's not going to college. This is what he wants to do. We're going to support him. Turned around, and at the end of that, he came to me and he said, I need a couple days off from school. I've been asked to go to California or Chicago or something to participate in a such and such painting, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, that's a learning experience. So we'll have you do something for it. And that was the presentation that he did. And then he said to me, I'm going to college. I said, you're what? And he said, I got a scholarship at Penn Tech and I'm going to college. And he went and he sent me pictures and he came to see me after he graduated from Penn Tech, and now he's running his own business. To me, those are tremendous. That's an amazing success story.
Well, yeah, because he accredited the experience that he got working outside of doing that program with the connections that he made, that he didn't realize he would want to go in a different direction or be able to do something.
Correct.
And he said that had he not had that opportunity,
He wouldn't have known.
while he was in high school, he may never have done it.
Right.
So my question is, I'm sorry, go ahead, Laura. No, go ahead.
I don't know if I should ask now, I just had a question about the road forward. And can you speak to the outdoor masking, rule there, and Mrs. Hutchinson's question, or is that something you can address now, or?
That was we already closed to the public right now, so I'm sure.
Maybe at the end.
Yeah. Okay. So, what was I going to say though about the
Alternative.
The alternative. So yes, and I remember the Maker Jam very well, and I remember the schools doing that. And then COVID had hit, and I know you mentioned that you're planning on getting all of those fabulous things up and running again.
Well, we have to find, the time and place is very important. Because you don't want to have isolated events to say that you had them if they're not in context and have meaning for the kids. And that's really part of the constructivist thing. But, we will, and it's not that we don't have those opportunities. But the district-wide days of making are a huge undertaking. And there's a lot of human interaction with the kids that right now we're a little bit limited on. Like they're all on top of each other and working together. And so we have to be very careful in the planning process. But absolutely, it's not something I would have, ever abandoned.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Business Administrator Report, Dr. Stephanie Kuchar. I did, I skipped one. Superintendent of Schools Report. Nope, Assistant Superintendent Report.
There we go.
I'm so
There we
excited.
go.
There you go, Daniel.
There we go.
Good evening, everyone. I kept it brief. I knew we had multiple presentations, and I'm glad I did because Mrs. Shanley had a wealth of
I'm
information
sorry.
for us this evening.
Sorry.
So thank you for that. Quick update, New Jersey Start Strong, which I spoke about every meeting for the last couple of months, is it now? Is underway. Berkeley Street has completed testing. There are a handful of students at each of the other schools that still need to test due to student absences, et cetera. And all testing will be complete. The window closes on Friday, this Friday, October 22nd. Students in 10th and 11th grade will be taking PSATs next Tuesday, October 26th. There's a delayed opening schedule for students who will not be testing. Communications have already been sent out. And just a reminder that tomorrow evening, we will have the second presentation in our family series hosted by Care Plus. Tomorrow's session is titled Making the Shift, Turning School Avoidance into School Engagement. There was a reminder sent. There's another one going out later tonight or maybe tomorrow. But the brochure, if you saved it, was updated. It will be in the next reminder. Tomorrow night, 7 p.m., the link for attendance on Zoom is in there. And we look forward to seeing you. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Lauren.
Any questions or comments for Laura?
Just a really quick one. So for the Strong Start, right? So I know that it is an assessment that is to this time, but it was based really sort of, because we didn't do spring, right? So it's whatever you did now is really based on where you were last year.
It's measuring last year's end-of-year expectations.
Is that something that will be reported out to us?
Yes, it will.
Not pressure of like the next day, I'm just saying that'll be reported out to us.
We're required to report that, just like we do all of our annual performance reports in the fall. We don't have, while immediate data is available, reports that we will be getting break it down into different groupings, similar to those groupings that we look at when we analyze NJSLA. So that will be, I anticipate, probably will be shared at a November meeting, one of our next meetings.
Oh, great, okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you.
My mom is here now, but thank you guys for having me.
Thank you.
Mackenzie,
Thank you.
guys.
All right, and I won't skip you now. Business Administrator Report, Dr. Kuchar.
Good evening, everyone. So I just want to speak a little bit about the October 15th deadline, which is a snapshot of all of our data. It is all student data as well as staff data. And it's broken down. It captures all district enrollment. It has out-of-district placement. It identifies speech only, choice students that are sent out of district, district enrollment based on IEPs. It includes lunch status, students who are receiving ELL services, students that are received, out-of-district placements, charter school enrollment, out-of-district students, and students who attend non-public schools. So why I bring this up is because now we have reporting for it's called the ASSA, which is funding for the following school year. So all of our data that is captured on October 15th is now reported, and that's how we find out what our funding is for the subsequent school year. Along with that, we also report what's the DRTRS. It's a transportation report, and in there, it's all of our routes, our driver information, and where all of the buses go. So it's a really busy time of reporting after the October 15th. For some reason, there was like crazy federal guidelines, and Stacy was working very hard in coordination with my office in trying to ensure that all students that are received are captured in this. So it was, I can't even tell you how many phone calls I made to other districts because we were trying to get receiving students, students that attend our Wings program. A lot of the students that Whitney was talking about earlier come up as errors. And so if we don't capture it correctly on October 15th, we would have what's called a send, receive, edit on the ASSA. So all of this was sorted out and worked on by October 15th. It happens at 5 o'clock. The entire state is captured at that time. And so if you try to make any changes between like October 13th and October 15th, you're waiting like 4 hours for what could be a one number change. So I'm happy to report that we captured everything successfully. However, now we have a big task of sorting everything and putting it and inputting it correctly and accurately for the ASSA as well as the DRTRS. So we're very busy on that. We also have the audit coming up, so the auditors will come in as we're working to close the books and everything for the 2021 school year. And I think that concludes my report for this evening.
I have
Yeah.
just one question. For anyone who's not familiar with those acronyms, can you let us all know what the ASSA and the DTRNS are?
Sure. The ASSA is the application for state aid, and the DRTRS, that one is the district report of transported resident students.
So now we all understand how important that is. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Stephanie?
We shut off Stephanie's phone between like October 1st and October 15th, and nobody's allowed to call her.
Thank you, Stephanie. Board action. I seek a motion. No, yes. I seek a motion for the approval of BA 9, BA 10, BA 11, BA 12, BA 13, BA 14, BA 15, BA 16, and BA 17. Are there any questions or comments from the board members on anything here before we get motions? Yes, Paige.
It's maybe it's more like a board request for additional information.
Okay.
Okay, so on BA 16, there's a line item for workers' compensation. You can't see it because it's attached. It's in the report. So
The district nursing services?
Yeah, and maybe it's not that one, maybe it's the one right above it. But there is the report on, yes, it is. It's on the district nurse.
Is at the road forward, yeah.
So, no, there is a report on the different services that we provide, and if there's a breakdown, you want to click on the link. And it just breaks it down in terms of, the battery died on my laptop here, so it is
You're looking at the
on
attachment?
it is on the services such as if there's, someone had an eye infection, something, like it really breaks it down, and there is a line item regarding workers' compensation. Just curious, obviously you're not gonna know the answer now, I just wanna understand where that comes from, because it breaks it down by school. And I believe it's the number, because there's also a line in there about insulin, like the EpiPens. There's a line in there about insulin, and you can tell it's one at the, one of the schools, it's two at another school, because probably students that are diabetic. So that's just what I'm saying, is that I'm just curious, there's a line item in there, and obviously my thing died. So,
What is it that you want to know?
I wanna know what's behind it, I wanna know what's under it, because there's, the numbers there are,
Workman's compensation.
yeah. There's a number in there, and there's like 75
Uh-huh.
for one of the schools, I'm just curious what that
Accidents.
is, Yes, so I just would like to get a little more understanding as to what makes up that number.
I'm gonna. Stephanie, can you speak to that? Because I am not.
That's why I said you may not be able to answer it
Yeah.
at this moment, but.
Yeah, I can. It could be anytime there's anything that could happen that could potentially lead to additional, medical care needed. So it could just be, like I stubbed my toe, but, I don't necessarily have an injury, but my office receives a form. And so we just received the form, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's been a claim attached to this number.
Right, yeah.
But they just simply fill out, it's kind of like a student accident report, same kind of concept. Like, a kid may fall and not necessarily even have a bruise, a scratch, anything, but there's a record of it.
Right. So, yeah, so more requests for additional information just to see if there's anything underlying in that. Not that I'm just curious. I would have just liked to know.
Okay.
Any other questions? So may I get a motion for those items just said, BA 9 through BA 17? Motion by Paige Ryan, seconded by Nicole Dunn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Educational Programs and Curricular Committee, Mrs. Laura O'Grady.
I seek approval for C5, C10, C11, C12, C13, and C14.
Are there, before we get the motion, are there any questions from board members? Yes, Paige.
So I am very excited about C12. So I just have a question on it. The agreement begins as of August 1st of this past year. So are there any students that are participating in that? And then as a board member, but as a parent of high school students, is there information going to the parents about this program? And because I think a lot of people probably don't really understand the benefit and what they can do. And I know there are probably a lot of students that could benefit from it that probably don't know or understand either. So.
Well, this particular one that you're speaking to, the Fairleigh Dickinson one, has been in place for a long time. And it's that certain courses that we offer, based on the credentials of the teacher being evaluated by Fairleigh, and a review of the curriculum, they determine, does that course meet the standard for an equivalent course that they offer?
Right.
And if so, the students can receive dual credit. But we've been doing that a very long time. They did ask us to sign this year. And so anytime we sign anything, we give it to you.
No, I appreciate that. So this is not the same as the other program that you had
No,
mentioned.
that other program, I've spoken to Mr. Manupelli, and Mr. Manupelli has been in communication with Bergen, and Mary Bilali is part of that too, and Lauren will be part of that at another point. That is an early associates program. So that would be for students probably starting with a sophomore. That's an early associates program. So what they do is they tell you, in order to get an associate's from us, you have to take all of these courses in these disciplines, and then we say, okay, we believe that this course meets this one, and then they evaluate them. And then students, if they fulfill all of the requirements, could graduate with an associate's degree. If they're shy of an associate's degree, that doesn't matter, because they don't lose the credits. They still have those credits, and they could potentially fill it over the summer, or even, so it's a fantastic thing to do, and it's very easy to do. And so we're already in communication with them.
Great. So then in this one, though, even with this, it's courses
This is
that
different.
the students would be taking.
Like an AP class, like, for example, we have an AP language and composition, or AP literature and composition. Lauren, do you have the list? I don't know if you happen to know the courses. I don't know them all.
It was in the attachment.
Yeah. So I don't know them off the top of my head, but I just know them because they existed before I was here.
Right. So, but again, understanding that from a perspective of parents.
Yes, the students are educated by their guidance counselors that this is a dual enrollment course, and they definitely know, because one of the challenges of having a dual enrollment course that's also AP is that students know they're going to get the college credit even if they don't sit for the AP exam.
Okay.
And so that is a drawback when it comes to the motivation to sit for the exam. But we very much encourage our students to sit for the exam. We provide the scholarships for students who score 3 or higher and give them a refund on their testing cost. But sometimes they know I already got the credit. So why am I gonna kill myself? I'll just study for these 2 AP exams, not these other 2, because I'm getting dual credit. So that's one of the challenges of doing the Fairleigh thing.
Right. Well, again, being a parent of high school student, I didn't know any of that. So that's what I'm saying, is that may be something that is told to a 16-year-old,
Uh-huh.
but that 16-year-old may not be sharing that information or absorbing it in the same way.
Those kids.
There are
I'll tell
definitely
you.
motivated kids.
Those kids.
They're not the ones I'm talking about.
Not telling their parents things.
Yeah, or just,
That never happened to my house.
no.
No.
You know, when you say, how is everything, and they said,
Yeah.
fine.
I have them.
You have the
Do you want me to
courses?
read- the
Yeah,
ones- the
you could
ones
read them, yeah.
For the middle,
The middle college.
They were on the attachment, right?
Yeah, so
Which
it's
one?
calculus 1, field experience 1, intro to professional practice and education, the tomorrow's teachers, intro to economics, intro to literature 2, intro to statistics, modern European history, Spanish intermediate 1, and US history 1. And the faculty members are available for each as well as the number of credits.
Right. So, yep,
Okay.
not making it about me, just
Mhm.
saying from my experience.
Okay, thank
So
you,
that's
Kate.
Thank you.
the
Thank
question,
you.
but I'm excited and I think it's great. And that's-
Are there any other questions? Okay. So can we get that motion?
Okay.
Motion
was-
by Tammy.
Well, it was motion
It was
by
paid,
Laura.
oh,
You know,
Laura.
we're gonna ask for the questions first before we do the motions now. Going
Uh-huh,
forward.
yeah.
But go ahead, can you two have that? You have the motions? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Having the recommendation of the superintendent, I seek a motion. Actually, do we have any questions on personnel?
Yeah.
At our work session, there was some discussion about P61. Has there been any sort of resolution?
Yes, Mrs. LePage and I spoke, and that has been resolved.
Any other questions?
I have a question.
Nicole?
Regarding the winter sports
Mhm.
and the cancellation, I wasn't on the board when we came to that agreement. Can you just clarify it a little bit more for?
Sure. So if we go back to the spring of 2020, when we first shut down in March, and nobody knew what to do about how to pay, like at this side, nobody knew what to do about how to pay anybody who was in the middle of a job, right? And then we had opening and closings and all this kind of stuff. So this precedes me, actually this language precedes me from another agenda, so we just copied it and rolled with the same language. This is a way you put it into place to say, in the event the season is cut short, coaches will still be paid the portion, and the portion of the season that they served, and keeping in mind that preseason work, you know, is a lot of, they do a lot, so you don't want to discount the time that they spend before the season even starts. So that's what we did. We took the sports, we separated them, and bowling and swimming are slightly different, but that's probably because we're part of
Yeah.
yeah. And so we just took the language and moved it over.
All right. So having the recommendation of the superintendent, I seek a motion for P12, P18, P31, P39, P40, P44, P46, P49, P52, P56, P59, P60, P61, P62, P63, P64, P65, P66, P67, P68, and P69. Can I get a motion, please? Motion. I'm sitting over there, I'm not.
I'm staring at her and it's just not coming. Gosh, that never happens to me either. Yeah.
Seconded by, and I heard they look over there. Seconded by Laura O'Grady. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Vote.
Roll call. Roll call, please, thank you. Mr. Alborough?
Yes.
Ms. Dawn?
Yes.
Ms. Kaminsky?
Yes.
Ms. McSweeney?
Yes.
Ms. O'Grady?
Yes.
Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Vice President Gomez?
Yes.
President Andrews? Yes. Motion passes 9-0. Finance Committee, Judith McSweeney.
I seek a motion for F64, F65, F66, F67, F68, F69, F70, F71, F72, F73, F74, F75, F76. A thank you for F77, F78 and F79 and F80.
Motion by Joseph Seal. Second?
Second.
Sorry, second. All right. And did we ask any questions or comments on that one? Any questions? Did anyone have questions?
Yes.
Paige, you have a question?
No.
Okay.
1 second. Oh, never mind.
Okay.
So, F78, what kind of programs are there? What kind of after-school programs are there?
Okay. I'm going to,
They might want to know.
I'm going to read, hold on, I have something here on that. Okay. I asked Mrs. Perot to give us a little detail on that, so here she said. West Bergen has provided a wonderful partnership with our Wings clients, God bless you, Wings clients for several years. We participate in conjunction with Cresskill. The main focus of the program is on adult-level social skills, and when the clients arrive, they meet as a group, and the topic of the day is presented. They have opportunities to then work within small groups with staff to either role play or further discuss scenarios. In addition, the clients go out into the community to practice the skills. West Bergen is located in Ridgewood, so there are many locations within walking distance of the program, and although the program is currently virtual for the fall, there's still a rich depth to the program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Now, all in favor? What? You have that recorded, right? Okay. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Are there any questions for the facilities? Okay. I seek a motion for the approval of FA5. Can I get a second? Seconded by Heather Gomez. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Are there any questions for the athletic co-curricular?
Just thank you.
Just
Say-
a-
I'm sorry, Sage is a former graduate from New Milford.
Okay, so, and Paige was kind of quiet, so anyone who didn't hear her said thank you. All right, can I get a motion for that, please? Can I get a motion for AC2?
Nicole?
Sorry, Nicole.
No, it's all right.
I'm, no. Okay.
I seek a motion for AC2.
Good. And seconded by Paige, seconded by Paige Ryan. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 9-0. All right. Any questions for our policy committee? There are a lot of them.
Maybe Mr. Steele. Does she want Mr. Steele to maybe speak to?
Well, are there any questions? And Mr. Steele, would you like to speak to any of these policies?
Now, most of them are mandated. Some are revised from previous mandated ones, and the ones that are crossed out are usually covered by some other mandated policy. So there was a redundancy, and that's why they were taken out. You want me to read down the list now?
If there's no questions, then yes, go ahead and seek the motion and.
Okay, I seek approval, policy alert 3. Eyes are working, 225, policy 164813, policy 164814, policy 2425, policy 5751, regulation 5751, policy alert 224, policy 2422, policy 2467, policy 5111. Here we go. Redaction on 5114, 51, policy 5116, policy 7432, regulation 7432, policy 8420, regulation 8420. Policy 8540, policy 8550, policy, there is,
8600.
oh, there it is, 8600, and redaction of policy 8810.
Ooh, you need a drink of water.
I'm gonna have to roll all those off.
Good job.
Okay. So, motion? Seconded by Heather Gomez. Motion by Heather Gomez, seconded by Nicole Dunn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Do we have any liaison and board committee reports? Joe?
A reminder for the 900th time, workshop is next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I realize most of you here have full-time jobs. You can access it for a year. I encourage you to go in, even if it's those evenings, for an hour or so, take a look. They have a good keynote speaker, Dr. Allen, who is current Commissioner of Education, former Assistant Superintendent where I worked, and it looks like it's going to be pretty worthwhile. So I encourage you to log in. If anybody has any questions about logging in, you can seek out my somewhat expert advice.
Mr. Steele, I actually have a question about logging in. I can't log in. I don't know if I reached out to Dr. Kushar.
Have you ever registered?
I have, we were.
Oh, we've gone many years.
Yeah.
They have a number that you can call.
Okay.
That you may have to change your password or,
Reset it.
We'll try to do that
you
tomorrow.
know, but
Okay.
that's about, they do lead you to
I
a
looked
human
through the
being.
offerings, which look pretty rich. I don't know if anybody else checked out the agenda. And I wanted to, I'm imagining I can create my own schedule.
Yeah, over the years, I've had a problem logging into.
Yeah, that's everybody.
Oh, one other thing, folks,
Okay.
where it says county meetings in the drop-down menu, you can go to other counties. Most counties are hybrid. And I encourage you to do that. You could earn credit toward, master board that way and your own portfolio, so to speak.
I have a quick question, to just piggyback on what you, not a question, a statement, to piggyback on what you said. I looked at the agenda, they emailed it, there looks like some very interesting things that we can educate ourselves with. So I highly suggest that. It's great that they still have the virtual option, so we can work around our schedules. And I asked Stephanie myself to remind me of what are required, because all this is, it's not required, but we do it because we want to that's part of our goals, is to educate and be a more effective board. But we do have our required trainings that we have to take, and you can take them at workshop, some of them at least. But I had asked Stephanie on my own to remind me of which one I need to take and to register me. So I think I encourage you guys to reach out. She has that information, so we can make sure we get that done. And Stephanie, you just mentioned that you could share an email about the passwords. Would you mind sharing that with the entire board in case anyone else has issues logging in? Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Any comments or questions for Joe? No? Okay, thank you, Joe.
Good.
Do we have any other board liaison reports?
I just wanted to let anybody who's on the athletic committee know that I'm gonna be setting up a date probably next week so that we can meet just to discuss, what's gonna happen with the winter sports season, Mr. Rigadelli, and also just to discuss how the fall season went, the successes, what we learned from it, especially with everything everybody's been dealing with. So.
Great. Thank you, Nicole. Any other board liaison reports? Councilman Seymour, did you have anything to report for us?
Yes, thank you. But we have borough updates. We had Clean Communities Day over the weekend, which was very successful. And we certainly want to thank everybody who volunteered townwide, including the New Milford High School Environmental Club, who also volunteered and helped out. It was wonderful to see so many people from around the community come out and help keep New Milford look as nice as it is and as it really should be. We also had a Fire Awareness Day this weekend, which was also very successful and well attended. And to that end, I want to thank all of our volunteer firefighters and our fire department who every single year, year in and year out, dedicate their time to help our community. And I can't stress enough how important volunteerism is to our community. And as the point has been reinforced again and again, every time a challenge faces New Milford, there is unity in community. And in particular, after tragedy strikes our town, as it did with Hurricane Ida and other tragedies which have struck our town, it's fantastic to see how well people come together and work together as one town and one borough and one community. To Ms. Shanley's point earlier, I also want to again thank the New Milford School District and Board of Education for your full partnership this year and going forward in this year's third annual Domestic Violence Awareness Symposium, which will be next week. And just to shed a little bit more light, albeit briefly, on this year's focus. The first year that we organized this event, it was an opportunity for our attending agencies to inform the public about services which are provided to those in need of help. The second year we held the event, we tailored the program to be more of a Q&A directed towards addressing specific issues and specific questions which arose out of this context. This year, we're having a conversation. We're going to have a natural conversation, more globally speaking, to use the metaphor, about all of the different iterations of abuse and domestic violence and the different forms. More specifically, with the assistance of Bergen County Commissioner Tracy Zura, I've been reaching out to our college and university communities in our area. I've had the opportunity to engage with students and ask students, what questions would they like us to address? What issues are concerning to them? This is a significant point because, yes, certainly, domestic violence occurs in the household. It certainly occurs in the context of married couples. It certainly occurs in the context of people cohabiting and living together. But it also, in addition, includes dating relationships. Oftentimes, younger people who are not yet married, do not yet have children, and not only don't live together, they may in fact still live at home with their families of origin. We're going to be tackling dating violence as well this year. Some of the questions which have been presented to us from students in our area, from college students, includes the role, or I should say the tool, which social media serves by way of facilitating control, cyberstalking, cyber harassment, threats, and other forms of abuse and domestic violence in that context, as well as the potential dangers that certain apps may pose in today's societal paradigm. And another question which was brought up that I'll just mention by one of the students, which I thought was excellent, was what should a student do who lives at home, who's witnessing an abusive relationship with that student's parents? These and other questions are going to be presented to our attending agencies who will be back next week, including the Division of Child Protection and Permanency, Bergen County Prosecutor's Office, Bergen County Sheriff's Department, Bergen County's Alternatives to Domestic Violence Agency, Center for Hope and Safety, a Partnership for Change, Healing Space, and many other wonderful people and agencies who will be graciously donating their time to engage in this conversation. And once again, our goal is modest. Our goal is to help at least one person. And if we help at least one person, from our perspective, it's successful. What questions do any of you have about the program?
I don't have a question, I just know that it's been done. I remember the first time it was done, and then I remember last year, and I just think it's a very important conversation to have, and I'm very glad that we're able to continue to help facilitate the space for it.
Thank you for that, Ms. Ryan. I think that in particular, the idea that the borough, the school district, and the police department are all partnering together to present this program underscores the importance that this is a community-provided symposium. And I would again like to thank Councilwoman Lisa Sanhusen, who's in attendance tonight, who from the very beginning has been my right hand in organizing and creating this symposium. And this is also a passion of hers. Thank you, Councilwoman. And I can't express enough gratitude. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
See you there next week.
All right. I don't believe we have any other liaison reports. Additional board items. I believe this would be the section that will, yes. So two things that I want to say before I open to the other board members. The first one is Tuesday, November 9th. We will be moving the board meeting to Tuesday, November 9th.
Yes, I made a mistake in the email. I said Thursday and the 9th. I meant Tuesday and the 9th. My apologies.
And we're doing that for anyone questioning why the meeting is being moved. We realize that the original scheduled date is Election Day. We want everyone going out doing their civic duty. So we are moving the meeting to Tuesday, November 9th. And that will be posted as well, correct? Okay. And then the other one, I want to address Mrs. O'Grady's question about answering Mrs. Hutchinson's question. And part of going to workshop and learning and educating ourselves, we realized that the way we should be handling a meeting in public is for the board business, and while all comments are heard, chain of command should be followed, and that's a question that should go to chain of command, which I believe that would be Ms. Shanley, correct? So we asked for follow-up on that. Are there any additional comments from the board? Old business? I'm sorry, Joe, did you have, okay. Wait, additional comment or old
No,
business?
old.
Okay, old business.
I just wanted to ask Lauren, pre-COVID, we had approved the Reggio pilot for the kindergarten. I was wondering how that was going.
That's actually a great question. So you are correct. We had approved a Reggio-inspired learning pilot for our kindergarten classrooms, which I believe happened right before COVID, maybe in the beginning of the new year, January of 2020. But I'm glad that you asked, because that pilot is very much in line with our constructivist work that we're doing district-wide. And Dr. Chris Amalis and I just spoke the other day about the work that we started with the kindergarten teachers and will be continuing. We were walking through school buildings.
I had a little tour of Reggio.
And we saw if you visit the kindergarten wings in both of our elementary schools, the hallway easels are there, encouraging students. Teachers are utilizing them during centers and having students, engage in creative painting when they have free choice time. So it's just a nice element, I think, to the environment. We took our students pre-COVID, our teachers, to other districts to see this learning in place. But we look forward to continuing where we left off. Unfortunately, it wasn't something that we were able to continue in the remote setting last school year, but we have circled back to it, and we'll be working alongside of those teachers to dig a little bit deeper.
Okay,
So we will be continuing it.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking that. Any other old business? Paige?
So, thank you for the past meeting, Dr. Bachar, about the field, all the information that you gave. So I was at the football game on Friday, and so I saw a lot of change and a lot of different, access, right? It expanded. Is there any way that you can give an update just on what's been done recently? Because I know things were roped off previously, things were not as contained this time around. So just, obviously the lights worked, so that was one thing we were left with.
So
I'm trying to think on the last time.
So the last time we
because it's all
spoke,
blurred.
it was just
Yeah.
before they were
Okay,
coming in
so-
to check the lights.
Oh, okay.
You gave that really
Got
thorough
it.
presentation.
So that Tuesday, they were scheduled to finish work. They successfully finished work. The next day, the lights were tested. The lights did in fact work. That Friday was the first home football game that was held. Obviously, the snack shack area is still not accessible, as well as now the gates are opened and everything on that side is accessible because all of the waste had been removed. There, we are waiting for the adjuster to come out for one of the vehicles that's under tarp over there, so that until that adjuster comes out, which I'm told I should be contacted next week on. So I'm hopeful that I'll get a call for that, and then once that's assessed, we'll have the rest of that equipment removed. At this point, we have a thorough list. I actually have it. Of inventory that has been classified as non-salvageable. It's pretty extensive at this point. And so now we've gotten quotes for the price of replacement of all the equipment. And so before I can submit this, that would be the next step in the claim, is to submit this to the insurance, but I first need to prove proof of ownership. And so actually one of the documents I have for President Andrews to sign tonight is a letter stating that I'm an authorized signature, because they will not accept a title of one of the vehicles without that letter. So the two vehicles have been sent off, so they've been successfully removed, and we received the money for that. But at this point now, we're just on the smaller items, such as mowers, a lot of the grounds equipment, as well as some of the field equipment that was lost.
Thank you for that.
Any other old business? New business? Mrs. Kaminsky, and then Joe.
I just want to say, Heather, I took the course that you
great.
suggested last time, and it was very, very informative for me as far as being a new member and what to know and the procedures that go with going through election season. And I also am going to take the governance one for the new board member. So I just wanted to let you all know that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Joe?
I just wanted to let you know that I looked up, and the next county meeting is Thursday, November 4th, which is the week before our meeting, and a crazy week of election day. So it's a hybrid meeting, and the topic is social emotional learning. So if you are interested, please click on it.
Thank you, Joe. The county meetings are very informative. We try to make those as much as possible, whether in person or virtual, they still have the option. And they'll send out an email, correct?
I think so.
Yeah, okay. All right. Any other new business?
The copies that I gave you.
Yes. I would like to thank Paige for this. She happened to find these and just made copies for all of us to, again, speaking to educating ourselves and everything we do. I'm gonna pass these around.
You just take one of each.
Take a chunk, one of each.
Take one of each. She
I
has
did not
them.
collate it.
Like she has them
So I
tagged
need a
across.
copy
So we
of-
can remind ourselves of Robert's Rule of Order and the way meetings need to conduct. Either remind ourselves or educate ourselves and refresh ourselves. So just that we'll pass these around, and thank you, Paige, for doing that. So everyone grab a tab. It is off. Look
No,
at this.
so
You have to
you
grab one of
take
each.
one of each.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's old school. You can do it at the end of
Let's
the
do
meeting.
it. Let's do it at the end of the meeting.
Yeah,
Let's
do it at
do
the
that.
end. I
do that.
wanted to say
Piles.
for that was that, a lot of times we reference it. We
Yes.
reference Robert's rules. And there are basics that everybody knows, but there's a lot more to it than just even stuff that we do. And I was in Staples, and it was next to the algebra shortcut guide and the pre-calc shortcut guide. There was a guide for Robert's Rules of Order, so.
What a lucky find, and thank you for thinking of all of us. That's useful.
Yep.
All right.
I think there might even be something on the agenda. I don't know, at workshop, but, okay, any other new business?
You're correct, there is something on the agenda, I saw it.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Oh, you meant for workshop?
Yes.
Yeah, there's always a
Workshop.
Robert's Rules.
there's always
Uh-huh.
Robert's Rule at
Uh-huh.
workshop, but this also is like a nice written
It is.
reference
It
to
is.
have, so. Okay,
Okay.
in that case, we will now open to the public for items listed on the agenda. As outlined in the Milford Board of Education Bylaw 0167, each statement made by a participant, for items not listed on the agenda. As outlined in the Milford Board of Education Bylaw 0167, each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 2 minutes. Do we have any question? Can I get a motion? Motion by Paige, seconded by Anthony Albro. Do we have any? We need to vote, sorry. Can we get it, no, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 9-0. And yes, what? Yes, and we have a hand up, yes, but I wanted to get the motion to open first.
Yes.
So yes, please state your name and address for the record.
Barbara Hutchinson, 556 Windsor Road. I'd like to thank Mrs. O'Grady for acknowledging what I asked earlier. I look forward to hearing from Ms. Shanley. I would just like to read for the record the email that the principals at the elementary school sent out today, which indicates that masks must be worn on school property at all times. And I would just like to point out, I would hope that the district would be consistent with this throughout all the schools, if it would be only required at the elementary schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Hutchinson. Any other questions or comments from the public? Okay. Can I get a motion to close? Motion by Nicole Dunn, seconded by Laura O'Grady. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 9-0.
Should I address it?
Do you want to?
Yeah. Now that we're
Okay.
closed, I can.
Okay.
Okay. So, to answer your question the best I can, we are definitely within our rights to be more strict than any executive order, for example, and most of the executive orders do say that. Our hope is always, whenever we make a decision, to protect our students. And since we really haven't been bringing guests in large droves to the school, I mean, even if you're talking about a game, like a soccer game, you don't ever have as many people at a soccer game as you do who show up for a Halloween parade, right? And the whole area around the school is usually lined with guests. And this is the first time the elementary is bringing all of these parents, out in droves. So we really wanted to make sure that, because we don't know the vaccination status of anybody standing there, it's just easier for us to ask people to please wear masks on our school property. We do have fragile students, we do have fragile faculty and staff, and at this point, we do know the vaccination status of every adult in our school buildings.
Also the kids.
No, we don't.
I'm saying those kids can't be.
Correct, and those kids can't be vaccinated. So we are asking parents to please comply out of precaution when they're on school property, especially because they're likely not distanced, and we really can't police it. So we're asking them to comply.
I have a follow-up question to that.
Yeah.
So then the question is, when we're dropping our kids off and we're waiting outside in the public schools, in the elementary schools, there are parents who wear masks and there are parents who don't wear masks. So I guess just to be uniform, if we're doing it for the parade, are we doing it for drop-off? Because the parents wait with the students at the elementary schools.
So I will tell you this, that beginning last year, it is a challenge to police parents, okay? We have a hard enough time ensuring that our children, our students are wearing their masks properly, and I find that when I walk around any school building, I look people in the eye and I go, pull it up, and it's something with the kids, we're always reminding them. I would love it if when parents came onto school property, knowing what everybody knows about the rules in school, it would be great if they would wear masks. But I don't have the manpower to run, nor does any administrator in district have the power or influence to run around and tell adults to put their masks on or ask them to put their masks on, only to be met with, don't tell me what to do, you're not gonna make, it's just a bad place to be. So, our priorities, our priorities as students, and we would hope that our parents, knowing the situation, will lead by example and wear their masks. Can I drag you off of school property for not wearing a mask outside? Unlikely that I would waste our time or energy doing something like that, so we're just gonna resort to, we would really love it if you could work with us on this. This is the first time we're bringing parents together to see students parade around in costumes and do something fun. Can we please just all work towards a common goal? And that's why it's not in the road forward. But it's kind of like, A Few Good Men, where the cafeteria isn't in the book either, but that doesn't mean the cafeteria doesn't exist, right? So we just appreciate the civility.
Thank you, Mrs. Shanley. Are there any board member requests for additional information?
Just the one I asked.
In that case, I seek a motion to adjourn. Motion by Heather Gomez, seconded by Joseph Steele. All in favor?
We didn't close the phone.
Oh,
We did.
Yeah, we did.
And then
I
we
spoke
answered
after.
members. Did you? Okay.
So all in favor,
I'm
aye. Opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Meeting is adjourned.